Hello friends, today we're going to be talking about how a company can improve work-life balance. Why is work-life balance talked about so much? Can it really impact our performance at work? It's a great question and one I will answer in this video. And by the time we're done, I'll share with you some real-world examples about how this topic played a vital role in the success of some of the companies that I started. Work-life balance is definitely a hot topic. It almost seems unattainable in today's workplace, but it doesn't have to be, and today I'll explain why. Let's dive into it today with first a solid understanding of what it is. Then let's dissect how too much of one can impact the other. And finally, I want to show you how you can achieve work-life balance and talk about why it's so important. If you're ready, let's go. So what does work-life balance mean? Simply put, it's the balance of living life, doing the things you want to do, and working to sustain doing the things that you want to do. It's having a balance in being able to put in a good effort into work, but also being able to have quality time with those you love and things that you like to do. You know, when you think about it, you've probably met people, they call them workaholics, right? They spend all the time at work. And if somebody's spending all the time at work, usually something outside of work starts to suffer. You've seen the shows where people work for different organizations, the CIA or government, and they spend all this time doing this. Usually things at home or relationships at home start to suffer because they're putting too much time into work. And the same can be true if somebody's putting all this time and energy into everything outside of work, all this play, all these relationships, a lot of times things at work can suffer. And so having a balance really is key, and it really is important to optimize performance for our best. Now, everyone might have a different take on this, but I've seen both sides of it, and I can truly say that having a balance is key. Early on in my career, and I think this varies for a lot of people, right? I mean, it depends on where you are in life. So early on in my career, when we first started the organization that I'm a part of, I worked a lot and I put a lot of time in, but I didn't have any kids early on, or I had one kid, then I had 3 kids. And so they were young, but I was still spending a lot of time at work. It wasn't until my wife said, listen, we've got 3 kids at home. I need you here a little bit more often. And it was a conversation I could have with my partners, with people that I worked with, and letting them know, here's the optimal time I'm going to put in, but I need to put the time into my family and those relationships, because if not, neither one's in harmony. And I know for myself, if this isn't in harmony, this isn't going to be in harmony. So being able to balance those 2 things out was key for me. And I learned it early on in my career, where I used to work so many hours that it was difficult to spend the time I needed to develop the relationships with my family and other people that were also important in my life. Currently, I own a company right now, and I'm involved in the day-to-day operations of this company. And I put in probably, 35, 40 hours a week in this organization. But I realized that in doing so, I've got other responsibilities, other obligations. I have other things I do in life. I love doing some real estate investing on the side. I put a lot of time and energy into that. I also coach different sports teams. And so these balances in my life help me to really maintain the person that I am and to maintain these relationships. And for each person, it's a little bit different. But one thing that I found in my life is being able to balance these different responsibilities in your life, and allocating sufficient time is important. Now, don't get me wrong. There's times in your career where you're going to have to put more time into something. Maybe it's your work, or more time into your family, or something else that you're involved in. And I think as long as everybody understands that and you understand that, I think you can always come back to a center where balance is optimal by giving the attention it needs to each area of your life. So we've talked a little bit about this, but what can too much work do for you? Well, as we talked about, it can strain relationships. There was a gentleman that we worked with that provided us leads. He was an amazing thought leader in the area of real estate investing, and he put time and energy. He was one of the foremost thought leaders in that area, maybe about 15, 20 years ago. He put so much energy and effort into his work that things at home started to fall apart. He got divorced. His children were estranged. All of a sudden, he felt alone and all by himself, to where eventually he fell off the map. Nobody knew what happened to him for a long time before he came back and had just kind of a personal journey, personal reflection, where he realized what was important in his life. It took something like that to help him realize that putting so much time into the work had caused everything else to fall. And he realized that what had fallen was most important in his life, but he'd given allocation of time to something else in his life, and eventually what was over here crumbled. And on the other side of the coin, if we are playing too much, eventually our skills and our skill sets and what we're good at start to diminish, right? We're not sharpening the saw. If we're engaged every day at work, we become better at what we do. If we're putting constant energy and effort into this and allocating sufficient time to the workplace, we become better individuals and better at what we do. And that levels up who we are and provides other opportunities for us. And I understand that there's people out there that don't need to work, right? They've done really well in business. Maybe they've sold a company, but most people that I know that have been uber successful and they've sold a company still find joy in working. They still work even if they don't have to, because they realize that's a value, that's part of who they are, and the value they add in working delivers happiness to other people, provides opportunities for other people. So even when somebody doesn't have to work, I still see many of them still doing that because they realize that that work-life balance, even though they don't have to, is beneficial for their well-being. So how is this work-life balance achieved? First, I think it comes with a little self-reflection and honest accountability. First off, just saying, okay, where am I allocating my time? I think looking at your calendar, looking at what's on your schedule, I really live by my calendar. So I try to study every open space in the calendar and make sure that I have something there. Even if it's like, hey, take a 15-minute break. At least what I'm doing every day. Now that's the type of personality I am. Some of you might not do that, but I find if I allocate my time and I can see what's on my calendar, it helps me then to do that reflection. Also, another thing that really helps is journaling. At the end of the day, at the end of the week, if you're able to journal kind of what happened throughout that week, what you learned, areas you can improve upon, maybe where you gave more time versus other time, all of a sudden you can look back and say, okay, I need to adjust here or I need to adjust there. Honest reflection, journaling, looking at your calendar can help align that work-life balance. Another thing that I think is important is prioritizing your week. Now, we all have our most important tasks we need to do. And this is what I do. And I'd be interested in your thoughts on this. I have different colored pens, right, for different areas of my life that I'm engaged in. And I write down the things that I need to do in those areas. Then I'll take a highlighter and I'll highlight the most important things I need done that week. That allows me to prioritize my most important things. It's kind of like the Stephen Covey, the big stones versus little stones. If we take care of the big stones first, a lot of times those little stones will fit in there. But if you put all the little stones in, there's no space or time for the big stones, the things that really need to be done. And so by me prioritizing the things I need to do each week, it allows me to put thought and energy towards that. Also, early in the morning when I'm doing some meditation, I try and think of my number one task of the day, the thing that I must get done that day, and that's my priority. So prioritizing also helps you keep work and life in balance. Now, one other aspect of a work-life balance is being present, right? I know individuals who say, well, I allocate sufficient time with my family, allocate sufficient time at work, but when they're with their family, they're constantly on their phone. They're not engaged with their family. So there's a big difference about time spent or actually being present, right? So when we're talking about work-life balance in any regard, same thing at work. You can be engaged at work. You can be at work, but not engaged. You can be on your phone. You can be doing different things. And there's so many things that vie to occupy our time in today's society with social media that if we're not actually present, engaged in the moment, then we will lose some of that work-life balance. There was a story of a young gal or a family that was at an event and they asked, say, hey, young lady, if you could tell your dad anything, what would you tell him? She said, I wish he would put down his phone and spend more time with us. And it was really eye-opening. And it was actually the individual, the father, who told me this story. And he said it was absolutely eye-opening that his daughter saw him as the person who was always on his phone and he wasn't really engaged. He was there. He wasn't present, right? He wasn't mentally present. He wasn't engaged with his family. He was there, but not engaged. So why does all this matter? Like anything in life, what you focus on expands. If you put energy and focus into a work-life balance, chances are you're going to have the balance that you want. I also believe that it helps strengthen relationships. If you allocate sufficient time to where you have balance in your life, I think you as an individual are a better version of yourself. And being that allows you to perform on all the tasks that you do in your life. Because if one gets out of whack, usually it causes everything else to become in chaos. So having work-life balance really strengthens relationships. And ultimately, it helps you perform at your best at work and at life. Now, these are some things that I've done to achieve work-life balance in my life, or some things that our company has done to help individuals have work-life balance, or things you can implement as an organization to have work-life balance for your employees. Now, these are my thoughts. I'd love to hear your feedback. Tell me what you've done. Tell me what you do personally. Tell me what you do in your organization. Comment below. I'd love to engage in a dialogue. And as always, I've got a free gift for you. It's aaronsalestraining.com. Just click on the link below, and it's 12 of our best modules of sales and persuasion. It is the sales training courses that we used in all of our organizations to help train our sales reps up to be the best versions, the best salespeople they can be. As always, thanks for stopping by and visiting. Have an awesome day.